My dearest Kethra, I hope this reaches you before the official dispatches do. I need you to hear this from me and not whatever sanitized version the embassy produces. I attended a human cultural event tonight. The ambassador suggested it. She called it a popular exhibition of martial tradition and said it would be useful for me in understanding human social dynamics. I want you to know, I went in with an open mind. I brought my diplomatic journal, and I wore the formal sash. I was not prepared. The venue was enormous. I have seen our grand deliberation halls, Kethra. This was larger. 60,000 humans packed into a structure built for the express purpose of watching humans fight each other. Not a military exercise, not a training demonstration, a fight between two people over what I can only describe as a deeply personal grievance. But I'm getting ahead of myself. We were seated in priority section near the front, a diplomatic courtesy, I was told. The noise was already remarkable. Humans are loud alone. Collectively, they produce a kind of pressure. You feel it in your chest before you process it as a sound. The evening began with several early fights. These were interesting enough. Two humans would enter the arena. They call it a ring, though it is square, which I have learned not to question, and engage in physical combat under a set of rules, enforced, supposedly, by a designated official in black and white garments. The rules appear to exist primarily so they can be violated. I counted no fewer than 14 infractions in the first 3 contests. The official seemed unbothered. The crowd seemed to expect it. I was making a mental note about selective rule enforcement and human justice systems when the arena went dark. The enormous screams illuminated with what appeared to be a live transmission from the vehicle storage area beneath the arena. A man was walking alone. He was large, even by human standards, with what I now know is called a championship belt. He was attacked by 3 men. They came from behind vehicles and struck him from behind. With weapons, Kethra, metal implements. One of them used a steel chair. I stood up. I looked at the ambassador. She was watching the screen. I looked to the security personnel. They were watching the screen. 60,000 humans were watching this man get beaten, and no one moved to intervene. I was reaching for my diplomatic emergency channel when the man fought back. He was bleeding. One of his eyes was swollen shut. He had been struck in the back with a metal chair at least twice, and then he started winning. He threw one attacker into a vehicle with such force that the alarm triggered. Another man, he struck him so hard, he simply stopped moving. The third man ran. The crowd reacted in real time. 60,000 voices. It was like a storm, and you could feel it in your body. Then the screen showed the man walking, injured, bleeding. He was moving towards the arena. Kethra, the match had not started yet. What I had witnessed was not the contest. It happened before the contest. This man had been ambushed, beaten with weapons, and he was now walking voluntarily into the arena to fight the individual responsible. And every single human in that building knew it, and they were screaming for him. His name was announced. I didn't catch it. The crowd noise swallowed the amplification system. He walked down a long ramp toward the ring, and I could see his injuries clearly from our seats. Blood on his face, favoring his left side. He climbed into the ring. Then his opponent's music played. The man who entered was tall, lean, and unmarked. He was clean, rested, and he smiled the entire walk to the ring. He had a ridiculous robe, and 2 of the 3 men who had committed the assault were with him. The crowd hated him. I found to my surprise that I also hated him. The official explained the rules. The championship was at stake. Strikes were permitted, grappling was permitted, weapons were not. and third parties would cause disqualification if they interfered. The match began, and for the first several minutes, it was extraordinary. Despite his injuries, the larger man, I had begun thinking of him as the bloodied one, fought with the ferocity I have not seen in any species. The lean man was faster and clearly skilled, but every time he gained an advantage, the bloodied one simply refused to stop. He would take a blow that should have ended him, and then stand up again. Every time he stood, the crowd surged. I could feel their voices in my sternum. I found myself leaning forward. I should be honest with you. We have never lied to each other. I was leaning forward because I wanted him to win. Not as a cultural observer, not as an academic. I wanted him to win the way you want water when you're thirsty. It was physical. The match went on. The bloody one gained the advantage. He managed to lift his opponent entirely off the ground and brought him down with tremendous force. The lean man did not move. The official began counting. I was counting with him. The entire arena was counting. 60,000 humans and a lone Volanthe attaché counting together. At the count of 2, one of the men from the parking structure reached into the ring and pulled the lean man's leg to the rope. This apparently stops the count, a rule I was not informed of. The official did see this, but he did nothing. Nothing, Kethra. The match continued on, but it was no longer fair. The lean man's associates kept interfering. Every single time, the official happened to be looking the other direction. The bloodied one kept fighting. He was exhausted. His injuries were clearly affecting him, but he kept fighting because it was right. He almost won again. He had the lean man pinned, and the count reached 2. And then a foreign object was thrown into the ring. The lean man used it while the official was once again not looking, and the bloodied one went down. The count reached 3. It was over. The lean man celebrated. His associates entered the ring and raised his arms. He held the championship belt up and smiled at 60,000 people who despised him. I was standing. I don't remember standing up. The noise in that arena was unlike anything I have experienced in my entire lifetime. 60,000 humans screaming, not in celebration, but in outrage, in solidarity with a man who had been cheated, who had done everything right and still lost because the system was corrupt and his enemy was willing to do what he was not. Kethra, don't laugh. I was screaming too. I don't know when I started. I don't know the words I used. Ambassador Tethling later told me I used a phrase that was roughly, "Open your eyes, you striped fool," at the official. I have no memory of this, but I don't doubt it. The bloodied one was helped out of the ring by medical personnel. The crowd chanted something for him. It was support, a promise. We saw, we know, come back. I've been sitting here in my quarters for 2 hours trying to write this letter. Here's what I experienced tonight. I watched a man get ambushed, beaten, cheated, and he was defeated. And I watched 60,000 humans care about it as though it were happening to them personally. These are not a species that accepts unfairness quietly. Even when they cannot change the outcome, they scream, they witness, they make certain that everyone knows what happened and that it was wrong. I respect that enormously. The next event is in 19 days. There is a strong possibility the bloodied one will demand a rematch. Ambassador mentioned she could arrange tickets. I told her that would be acceptable. I told her it was continued cultural research, which is technically true. I miss you. Kiss the children for me. Your devoted husband, Varel. P.S. I looked up the regulations. The official did fail to enforce the interference rule, and it's clearly outlined. I'm considering raising this through diplomatic channels. P.P.S. The bloody one stood up 7 times, Kethra. 7.